Hi, I'm Jamie McGlone. I'm with the Northeast Alabama Area Operation Christmas Child Team, and we are honored to have Miss Dania Andreas with us this afternoon, and she is sharing her testimony and encouraging us as congregations and church leaders about why it is so important to pack Operation Christmas Child shoeboxes and to motivate us to continue to get involved in this ministry and give us renewed spirit and hope for doing even more within our churches than we've done in the past. So, Dania, I just will turn it over to you and thank you for sharing with us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Jamie, and thank you for everyone who are passionate about Operation Christmas Child. And if you've not yet know about this ministry, just know that you get to impact children's life, the gospel of Jesus Christ all around the world. I was personally impacted by somebody who packed a shoebox for me, and I just remember that was the highlight of my childhood. I was born in the Middle East in a country where about 98% of the population were not Christians. So as my family were living in that part of the world, we were faced with two major challenges. And the first challenge was severe persecution because we lived in a country that the majority were not Christians. And as we were Christians, we were sharing our faith. I remember we received multiple threatening letters that were urging us to either leave the village, stop sharing the gospel, or we would be killed. I remember in school I was bullied because I was the only follower of Christ in my entire school. And I often felt alone and rejected because of my faith. I longed to have someone my age that I can talk to, but there was no one who believed in Jesus like I did. And so that was one of the challenges. And the second challenge was severe poverty. I remember my dad working really hard to provide for my family, but it was still very difficult to provide our basic necessities, such as hygiene items and school supplies. And even as far as our daily food, there were many nights where we couldn't eat anything. And some other nights, food used to be raw onion and bread because that's all we could afford. And as a result of our poverty, I did not enjoy the experience of receiving a gift, not even on my own birthday. I remember it wasn't even celebrated because we could not afford having a birthday party. And so, in the midst of these situations, it was very challenging for my family. But what I am so thankful for is having godly parents who did not just give up. They pushed and pushed to teach us that even though we're in circumstances outside of our control, we have a God who is bigger than all of that. And they continuously pointed me to Jesus and to fix my eyes on him in the midst of the challenge that we were facing. And my mom specifically, she used to teach me how to pray and to bring every need I have to God in prayer so that when I want something or need something and I ask her and she couldn't afford it for me, and that there would be somebody that I can bring those needs to. And so every night I used to pray and I brought our needs to him in prayer. But my biggest desire was to have my very own toy because my parents could not afford that for me. So I prayed for God to send me my very own toys. Now, within that same period of time, my family had another need that we could not afford. It was very expensive. And that was to have something as a radio to allow us to listen to the news and learn about what's going on around us, but also to listen to a Christian radio station, as Christian resources were very limited in the Middle East. And one way to do that was through the media. And as a little girl, I wanted that to listen to worship songs, but there was no way we could afford it. But I always had this desire in my heart, and it was like a little prayer that I had that I really wanted to have something like that to allow me to worship Jesus. My parents always encouraged me to just trust God with this need and see what happens, even though to me it seemed kind of impossible to have this need provided. So as days went by, one very special day, we went to church gathering and I heard that I was going to receive a gift. And I could not believe it because I had not received a gift before. So they shared the gospel and they sang worship songs, and then they called the names of children one by one to come and receive a gift. And my name was called, and I was so excited. I was shaking from excitement. My heart was racing, and I received a beautifully wrapped Operation Christmas Child shoebox gift. as we sat as a family in our room to open the shoebox, I remember as I opened the lid, I loved how colorful and brand new everything in my shoebox was. And I found inside things that my family had needed, such as school supplies and hygiene items. And I found so many toys that I loved and was truly an answer to my prayers. My favorite toy was a beanie baby like this one that I really loved. And another one that stood out to me was a slinky, which I thought it was a bracelet. And I truly enjoyed playing with these as a little girl. But as you were pulling item after item from inside the shoebox, there was one box inside it, one small box. And as we pulled that small box and opened the lid and pulled the item out, we could not believe our eyes because inside that small box we found a mini radio. And this is an exact replica of how that looked like. And I remember sitting there thinking, how is that possible that out of millions of children and millions of boxes, this would come specifically to my family with the things that we needed and had prayed for? But God was just showing me that there's nothing impossible for him, that he is the God who sees me and knows the desires of my heart and answers my prayers. And even though in that part of the world I felt unseen and rejected by so many people, this experience showed me that God knows that I exist and that he heard my prayers. And this was one way to show me that I was loved and seen by him. And I carried that experience throughout so many years until this very day. So I'm just so thankful to be on this end now, not only sharing my story, but pack in shoeboxes and partner with amazing churches to share the gospel with other children just like myself. Because if we think about it, it's the local church here supporting the local churches there. And this is what we do as a body of Christ. And so I'm just so thankful to be part of this on this end and for the churches that make stories just like mine possible. And so thank you very much.
Well, Dania, we thank you for your testimony and your encouragement. I hope what it helps to motivate our churches with, which is what I've been encouraged and motivated with through your story, is that through Operation Christmas Child, we have not only the opportunity to impact children around the world to come to know Christ, but to help believers and families of believers, the body of Christ, just like you said, to be encouraged and to have to renewed sense of hope. And what a testimony of your sweet mother and father, and what examples they set before you, and what a testimony to us as parents within the body of the local church to set forth that same example to our own children. And what a better way to do that than through a ministry like Operation Christmas Child, to share your story with our own children of our churches, to say, you've got an opportunity to be a missionary to someone around the world and to show them how God works through the things we do here to affect people around the world. So thank you for motivating us as church believers and bodies of believers here on this side of the box to keep doing what we're doing. So thank you for your testimony.
Of course, thank you for having me.